Hi, love bugs. Welcome to another episode of Girls Night with Carly Dockstader. I'm your host, Carly Dockstader. And this week, if you are watching on YouTube, you will notice that I am in a different environment than normal, and that is because I am filming in Albuquerque. So I am in a hotel instead of where I'm normally at in my home. And it's kind of funny because I've been to Albuquerque once before. Me and my friends came here for New Year's Eve a couple of years ago because one of my friends was living in Arizona at the time, and then we were in Colorado. So we tried to meet somewhere in the middle. And we landed on Albuquerque, and it was fine. I mean, it was a good trip because obviously the company, I think it was a weird time of year to go, and also we were kind of in like a sketchy part of town. So just because of that experience, I like never really felt the need to come back to Albuquerque, if I'm gonna be honest. But here I am back in Albuquerque for this work conference. So that said, all of that out of the way. This week we are talking all about forgiveness, why it is so important, and some tips to help get you to that state of forgiveness, because depending on the situation that you are trying to forgive, then obviously that can be a little hard sometimes, right? So we are going to go through all of that in this episode today. So let's get into it. Hi everyone! Life can get a little crazy, so let's talk about it. If you're ready to dive deeper, talk about what really matters, and feel a little more empowered, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Carly Dockstader. I'm a life coach, baker, dog mom of two, and you're always there for you gal pal. And I'm so excited to have you join me. So grab your fuzzy socks, put on your comfy pants, and let's have girls' night. So, forgiveness. I feel like we all have like this kind of logical, intrinsic understanding of what forgiveness actually is. I would say that a good definition of forgiveness is the decision to really release any anger, resentment, lingering feelings, desire for revenge towards a certain person or a certain situation. And sometimes forgiveness can involve an apology from the other party. I would argue that a lot of the time it does not involve an apology from the other party. And even sometimes when you do get that apology, it does not have the effect that you want it to, because there are still things for you to forgive after you get that apology like you wanted. But essentially it is releasing that emotional tie to whatever happened, whatever you're thinking about. And I think that forgiveness can be really hard sometimes for a couple of reasons, right? Because as I was just kind of alluding to, whatever happened, you're angry about it, probably. You're hurt, you are in pain, you're feeling sadness, and you want that other person to know that you're angry, to know that they hurt you, to kind of see you in your pain and in your sadness. You're carrying that resentment and you don't want to carry it anymore, and you want them to see that part of you. Another reason is that it feels like sometimes forgiveness can feel like you are letting that other person off the hook. It feels like you are completely excusing what they did. And then the third reason that it can be a little bit difficult is because that lingering feeling, whether it's anger or pain or resentment or sadness, that lingering feeling can sometimes feel like it is the very last piece of that person that we have to hold on to, or of that situation that we have to hold on to. And you don't want to give that up, right? Because it's the last piece, and the last piece is sometimes the hardest piece to let go of. But the thing is that forgiveness doesn't actually mean any of these things. These are the stories we tell ourselves about what that forgiveness actually means, but it doesn't mean any of those things. It does not mean that the feelings that you felt or the feelings that you're feeling are invalid, because they completely are valid. It does not mean that you are letting them off the hook. It does not mean that you are excusing their behavior or how they treated you. And it does not mean that you are losing this person or the situation forever. And I can say that even if you never ever see this person again, truly, you are not losing them forever. I guess this is in a context of a relationship when I say that, because obviously there are other things that need to be forgiven where you probably never want to see that person again, which is totally fine. But our our experiences, all of them, they are a piece of us forever, right? But it's more so what we do with it, because all of our different experiences as we go through our lives are what shape us into who we become. And it's kind of like, I can't remember what it's called, but it's that Chinese, I believe it's Chinese practice of when a vase breaks, they used to like meld it together with gold in between. So then all of a sudden, this like basic vase would turn into this beautiful work of art from its broken pieces with the gold veining throughout it. That's kind of what all of these different situations that we need to forgive turn us into. They turn us into these beautiful works of art walking through our everyday lives. And so forgiveness is not about any of these things that we just mentioned. It is really just about releasing yourself from the grief and from the pain of the situation. So, what forgiveness does, it creates this space for healing, for peace, for personal empowerment, not for them, not because the other person deserves it necessarily, but because you deserve to have that peace and that empowerment and that healing for yourself. And this is really important to know that forgiveness is for yourself and not for the other person, because for the most part, people are not stupid, right? Like people know when they are treating you badly. People know when they are showing up in a way that they should not be. People know when they are kind of like giving you the shit end of the stick, right? People know that. Are they always willing to admit that and come face to face with their shortcomings? No, obviously not. Otherwise, we would not be talking about this in a podcast episode, right? If everybody was able to come clean, hold themselves accountable, really do the actions or say the things that they needed to say to make things right, we would not be having this conversation. But a lot of the time, people are not able to do that because it is hard to come face to face with your shortcomings. So you'll find that a lot of the time people would rather avoid it and avoid responsibility. And so that is why it is so important for you to acknowledge this for yourself. Because as I said, forgiveness is not about them. It's not about letting them off the hook. It is not about excusing them, their behavior, and it's not about letting them go. Forgiveness is about allowing yourself to move on without the weight of the past to carry. Because if you do not forgive them, you are letting your life be controlled by a person who most likely is not even in it anymore, or you are letting your life be controlled by a situation that already happened. And you are forcing yourself to repeat that experience and to keep feeling that pain over and over and over and over and over again unnecessarily. And sure, there are going to be instances when this person is still in your life, whether you have to have them in your life for some reason outside of your control, or whether you are choosing to still have them in your life. That forgiveness is almost even more important because you are still coming face to face with that every day. So if you want to put this into context of a relationship, let's say it's a romantic relationship. If you are choosing to forgive this person for whatever happened, then you cannot hold that resentment towards them, because that is going to taint every other situation that you guys have in the future. And if you really want that relationship to thrive, then that is not the path that you're going to want to go down. Even when it comes to a friendship, like friendship really involves a lot of forgiveness and allowing other people to be human. I think we are more easily able to do that with our friends than with our romantic partners sometimes. But if you want that person in your life still, then you're going to have to find a way to move through that pain and move through that resentment, right? If you want it to be a successful relationship in the end. And really, you can do that with any situation where you still have to come face to face with it every day. Or if you can't forgive, then maybe that's a signal that you move away from that situation and forgive it from a distance, if that works for you a little bit more. So some of my favorite ways to help with learning how to forgive a person or a situation when those things are feeling really, really heavy and weighing you down. Number one is EFT therapy. You could do hypnotherapy, NLP, CBT, whatever modality works for you. Really just having a third party there really helps to guide you through these emotions and really makes it a lot easier because having that third party that is kind of emotionally removed from what you're feeling helps you to see the forest through the trees. Because sometimes when we're stuck in the situation, our brains get stuck on that one little detail and we start to spiral. But having a therapist, having an EFT practitioner, anybody like that to help move you through it and help guide you along that path is going to be really beneficial. And I heard a really great analogy for this. Let's say you have a broken arm. Actually, I might have used this analogy myself already, but I'm going to use it on this one again. So maybe you have a broken arm. When you have a broken arm, you go to a doctor to help you fix it, right? You have a professional help you fix that wound. The same should be true for our emotional wounds. We should be going to professionals to help us fix our emotional wounds because they heal much the same way, right? They need that love and that attention and that care, and they need to be treated in the correct way in order for them to heal properly. And so my second tip for helping to forgive a certain situation, and this is actually really beneficial for those situations where you are not going to get an apology in person or where you feel like you are never going to get an apology. And those situations that I'm talking about, maybe you are going to be waiting around forever. Maybe it was a parent that walked out when you were a kid and hasn't come back, something like that. You may never get the apology that you are looking for. So this next tip is actually going to really help with this. I call it role playing, but essentially you are going to be having a full conversation with them in a visualization with yourself. So you're going to sit back and you are going to picture this person in front of you and you're going to say everything that you want to say to them. In this visualization, you are going to maybe you want to scream at them. You're going to scream at them just like you need to do. And then in this visualization, once you have said your piece, they are going to respond and you are going to have them respond back to you. And you're going to have that conversation back and forth until you come to a place of peace. And I know that sounds like kind of silly because you're like, well, I'm just having a conversation with myself, but that's really what it is because each of these different parts of ourselves that we're visualizing are representing those different pieces of our pain. And so you're able to give yourself the forgiveness that you are searching for in somebody else. And another tip, if that's a little bit difficult for you to do on your own, maybe you're not used to visualizing, our brains kind of work in different ways. So it's not as easy for some people to do a visualization like that. For me, it's really easy. Other people, it's really hard. It's just about how our brains work. So if that seems a little bit difficult for you, or you just can't get behind doing it with yourself, something that will really work for you, pull up ChatGPT, have that conversation with ChatGPT. So ask ChatGPT to pretend that it's that person. You don't have to use names, and to respond in the way that they would respond. So maybe this is going back to the parent that left. Maybe it is your father that walked out when you were a young child. Ask ChatGPT, hey, ChatGPT, channel the energy of my father that walked out and respond to me in his voice, pretending that you were him talking to me. Say something like that. It doesn't have to be those exact words. ChatGPT will get the prompt and you can have that conversation back and forth. Get as angry as you want to, let out all of your emotions, say what you need to say, and do that until you come to a place of peace. And I promise you, if you do it enough, you will come to a place of peace. The third thing is that when you experience something traumatic, whether that is a breakup or really a betrayal of any kind. Maybe you got laid off from your job. Maybe it's a death that you experienced. Maybe you experienced abuse, physical, emotional abuse, maybe even just witnessed abuse. All of those things really throw us off center. So what comes to mind for me, when I was a kid, I had this little like sit and spin, right? So it's one of those toys you would sit on it and it had like this handle in the middle. You would spin the handle and it would make you the rest of the thing spin really, really fast. I'm not sure if y'all had one of those. It was my favorite toy, but we would get it spinning super fast and then you would stand up and you would be super dizzy and you would kind of like topple over, or you would try not to topple over. So when you experience one of those really traumatic things, like I just listed, whatever it is that you are trying to forgive, that it has the same effect on us internally. So it spins you around and internally it knocks you off center. So one of the main things that you have to do in order to forgive a certain situation is to find a new sense of safety. Really what that means, you have to reconnect with yourself, reconnect with your mind, reconnect with your body, reconnect with your heart, reconnect with your soul. You have to come back home to all those different places within yourself, because after a betrayal, after abuse, after something traumatic, those pieces feel foreign to us. So for me, that is moving my body in physical ways that feel good. It is doing something active and taking care of my body. That is just something that helps me come back home to myself, helps me ground myself, and helps me to kind of release all of those racing thoughts in my head. So for me, it's yoga. Personally, love the hot yoga over the cold yoga or whatever you call like normal yoga. That's not hot yoga. Running is really meditative for me. So exercise can be a form of movement meditation. This is a really great way to connect your mind and your body, especially when you're experiencing these feelings of abandonment and betrayal and anxiety. This is a really good way to help your body to kind of process those emotions without having to just sit there cross-legged on the bed meditating. If that's your thing, do that too, because that's amazing. That some people, that just does not jive with who they are. My brother, for example, comes to mind. He always tells me that the gym is his meditation, right? And it's true, because I mean, it's a way for you to clear your mind. So it's that. For me, it's also dancing, really just anything that gets my body moving in that kind of way. Again, helps me come back to myself and helps me to find that sense of safety. So for you, maybe it's the same thing. Maybe it is that type of movement, or maybe it's something completely different. For you, maybe it's painting, maybe it's sculpting out of clay, maybe it's wood whittling, maybe it's baking, maybe it's bubble bathing, which I don't think that is actually a verb, but we're officially making it a verb right now, because if it's not a verb, it should definitely be a verb. um, and maybe this is going to be different than what it used to be, right? So maybe your sense of safety did come from yoga. I'm just going to stick with that example. Maybe you did used to find a real sense of safety and groundedness in practicing yoga, but maybe now when you try that, it is just not working for you, and that is okay. It is okay for that to change. And if that's the case, that's just inviting you to try other things to find that new sense of safety. And maybe it's something completely different that you would not expect. Maybe your body is asking you to actually pick up the pace a little bit to help you work through those emotions a little bit more. Or maybe your body is asking you to take a step back. Maybe it's focusing on growing a garden or nurturing something like that, right? Or maybe you're even finding a new sense of safety in maybe volunteering, or maybe you get a pet and that's where your new sense of safety is kind of coming from, because it's giving you a new purpose. It can be a wide variety of things. Obviously, do not go out. I'm going to make this disclaimer. Do not just go out and adopt a pet to like try it out. If you're adopting a pet, like that should be a very serious decision for yourself, because it should be like a lifelong thing, at least for their lifetimes. I will get off my soapbox, but go try a few things out to help yourself find that new sense of safety, right? And if you have just even a little inkling of something new that you want to try, go try it, even if it's out of the norm for you, because maybe that's just your body telling you what you need to find that new center in yourself after this traumatic event or after this stressful event that you have to forgive. And then the next one, my next tip is to allow yourself to heal on your own timeline. It is your timing, nobody else's. Do not listen to the people that say, this again. Do not listen to the people that say, oh, you're still thinking about that. And do not listen to the people that say, shouldn't you be over that by now? It happened so long ago. No, because nobody knows the intricacies of what actually happened. Nobody knows the intricacies and the details of what is going on inside of you. And I think it's really great to share those pieces with someone else, but no one will really understand truly the full picture of what you personally are experiencing. So nobody else gets to have a say in what your timeline for your healing truly is. So let yourself work on your own timeline. Do not rush yourself. Do not rush your healing. Do not force it. In fact, I think trying to force your healing actually creates more problems later on, because when you try to rush the healing, I think that is us just trying to bypass the actual healing, because we don't want to go through the icky parts of it. And instead we try to rush to the end and say, oh my God, I'm healed, when really there's still those deeper issues to work through. So allow yourself as much time as you want, as much time as you need to get to that place of healing, to get to that place of forgiveness. And then the last one I want to go over is to Allow yourself to forgive this person or this situation over and 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 over again. Because lots of times forgiveness really will take more than one moment of forgiveness for it to actually happen, because our pain unfolds in layers. And one day you may feel like you have forgiven the whole situation. You may be floating on the clouds, walking on sunshine, and then the very next day you might come crashing down, feeling super blasé, angry, hurt all over again. And that is okay, because maybe you got triggered by something new. Maybe it's for a different reason. It's the same situation, but for a different reason. And I know that this aspect of healing and this aspect of forgiveness can be the most frustrating, because eventually you're going to sit there and you are going to be saying to yourself, I have done so much fucking work on this. I have forgiven this so many times. Why am I still thinking about this? Why does this still hurt so fucking much? And it is so fucking frustrating. It's so frustrating. But all that it means when you're going through those layers, when you're kind of going back to the story and forgiving it again and again and again, is that you have just leveled up to a new layer of healing, right? So maybe you found a new nugget that you didn't quite see before, but now that you healed that other piece, you're actually able to see that deeper piece of it. And it's okay to need to forgive the same thing over and over and over again, because maybe it was something that really made you question who you were, or maybe you questioned your values or your sense of self. And it is okay to have to come back to that. We are not perfect people. We were not meant to be in this straight line with our emotions. Otherwise, life would be honestly pretty boring. It is okay to revisit all of those different feelings for yourself. And as frustrating as it may be in the moment to keep revisiting these different feelings and all these difficult emotions, allow yourself to go there anyways and to do it until you come to a place of peace. So those are my tidbits on forgiving. I would love to hear y'all's thoughts on forgiveness, maybe some stories or what has helped you to move on to forgive things or situations or people. But I love you guys. I will see you next week. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you liked what you heard, then go ahead and subscribe so you get updates with us every week. You can also follow us on Instagram at KRC Coaching. If you're interested in working one-on-one, then go ahead and visit our website, krccoaching.com, to book your first 30-minute session for free. All right, thanks so much, you guys. Love you. Bye.